Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube and podcast channel. We are back with another match preview. The international break is over. Rejoice, rejoice. We are back with Premier League football, club football on a weekend. I'm Scott. I'm your host for this one. And this week, I'm joined by Kris and Daryl. Boys, we'll jump straight into this one. Obviously, it's a home fixture against Crystal Palace. This coming Saturday, October 21st. For those of you watching afterwards, I don't know why you would be, but if you do, there you go. It's not on UK TV, which I think is 2 weeks in a row now, or 2 games in a row, because obviously with the international break. What are our thoughts on this one, boys? Are we looking forward to this match? Kris, I'll come to you first.
These days, I'm always looking forward to Newcastle matches, mate. Like every single week, I'm buzzing. I feel as if this international breaks, it's flown over a lot quicker than what they normally take. I know it's only really been a week overall. The lads have been away. There's one match, one game weekend which we've missed. But I'm always buzzing for the match. I know I'll be on about this quite a bit. I'm not a huge fan of international football, so my time during this break is just a time away from football. But I'm absolutely buzzing to get back in St James's Park. I think last time we were there obviously was the PSG game, Daryl, if I remember right. That would have been the last time in St James's. A lot to live up to. But fingers crossed we'll get a few more goals in the bag.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Daryl, are you looking forward to getting back into St James's Park at 11:30, as you normally do on a Saturday?
Well, I am really looking forward to getting back in there now. I feel fully rested after the rest that was definitely needed after the last little clutch of games there before the international break started. I've sort of really switched off from football altogether, so I didn't really watch any of the England games while they were on. I just had a nice 7 to 10 days just away from everything, and now I can get ready, get built up, and get ready to come back on Saturday and be ready to cheer the lads on for another crucial run of fixtures.
Yeah, well, before we jump in to have a little look at Crystal Palace and Newcastle, here is a little word from our sponsor. The GallowgateShots match preview is brought to you by Magpin. Magpin are the go-to site for high-quality, unofficial enamel pin badges of Newcastle United players, legends and retro kits. For more information, visit their website at magpinbadges.bigcartel.com. Yeah, so Crystal Palace on Saturday, as I've already mentioned, they're doing okay. I wouldn't say they're having a great start to the season, but they're not having a bad one at that point either. Daryl, 3 wins, 3 draws, and 2 defeats so far this season. Sitting in 9th, they're just 1 place behind us. They're on 12 points. But the thing I really want to highlight about where they are in the league is they've only scored 7 goals this season, and they've conceded 7 goals this season. It's quite a low number. Maybe it's the conceding you'd probably want to be that low, but not the scoring.
Yeah, it's quite consistent as well when you think about it. And I think they're really missing the potency of a Wilfred Zaha in the team. You think if Wilfred Zaha was still with them, they'd probably have another 5 or 6 goals under belts, really, because of the amount that he can create and score himself. But again, it's sort of the thing you come to expect from a Roy Hodgson team. He's got them organised so that defensively they're quite solid. And like we say, they're just missing that spearhead up front who can bang in the goals. They've still got a lot of threat in their team. You've got Eze on the wing, Elise, so that they've got a lot of threat there. They just haven't been able to find the back of the net properly. I think I missed out Ayew there as well, who can come in and play off the wing. But like I say, they'll be a team that come to St James's on Saturday and try to keep everything tight and locked down, and probably invite us to try and break them down, which we tend to struggle with if we have to have the ball. We're normally good at pressing on teams that have got the ball and getting our rewards that way. But yeah, it's sort of like almost like a typical Palace sort of thing where they just grind out their results and they keep going and staying in the league every year. A lot like what we used to be like really a while ago now, but we're on to bigger and better things these days.
Yeah, Kris, the fact that Palace, they do seem to like to just sit back and maybe try and nick 1 goal, whenever they can. Not really want to play the game much. Is the fact that they're a team that like to be, have teams play against them and try and break them down. Is that, I don't want to use the word concern, but is that something that kind of you think in the back of your head, we're not the best at that?
I think we're improving though. I think maybe last season you could argue that case where some teams would come in and probably later on the season when we went through that patch of drawing a lot of games. A lot of teams did just come back and it was 11 men behind the ball and just hopefully didn't concede. I think we're learning to adapt to that, and as the game weeks go on, and obviously we're getting more experience of that. Because let's be honest, it was normally the shoe was on the foot was us in that position. Especially if you look on that, like Rafa, who would sit back, try and contain it, then try and grab a goal or two, and not really go for these high scoring games. Obviously, it's the opposite now, where the lads just want to score as many as they possibly can. And do you know what it is? Like I said, I think we are improving at that, and I think yes, teams may try that for a long period of the game, but they have to score at the end of the day as well, and it's always going to leave those spaces. Of course, it is, and I think we're so fast on the break, we can capitalise on that. And whether that's down the left-hand side with Gordon, who's obviously back, I believe, for this game as well. You've got Miggy on the right-hand side. That team's full of pace, apart from the defence, but you don't need to rely on the defence for that to get you further up the field. But I just think teams can try it, but there's always going to be a mistake. And it's whether or not we capitalise on that and find those pockets of space. But honestly, they can try, but I've got confidence that we'll break teams down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not writing Palace off and saying, oh, they're not going to attack us. They're not, they're just going to defend. I mean, they do have like Daryl's already alluded to a little bit. They do have a few players that can hurt you. Yeah, they have lost Wilfred Zaha, but they were never a one-man team. Although he was the one who was getting most of their goals. But like Daryl said, they've got Elise, they've got Eze, they've got Doucouré, Franca, and it was Ayew you mentioned as well. One thing I do want to touch on though, Daryl, they've got a lot of injuries.
They've got a canny extension on that training ground for a hospital ward at the minute.
It does look like it. I think it's 11 players in total. I don't know if they're all first teamers, but to run through the list, Daryl, you've got Eze, Ferguson, Elise, Lerma, Armada, Oliveira, Ward, Doucouré, Schlupp, Rideweld, and Henderson. 5 of those names have started 7 games at least this season. Big misses.
Yeah, they'll be crucial misses, and it sort of makes a mockery of everything I was saying, because if they're not available, then what's the worry about, really, isn't it? But we don't know if they might be back for this. I think obviously at this point we'll just have to class them as doubt. So there's every chance that a couple of those may return on Saturday. But if they don't return on Saturday, then really we're looking at a Palace team that's really there to be taken apart.
Yeah, obviously we do this before any of the press conferences, so we don't know exactly who is or who isn't out. We just have to go off whatever information's available when.
Scott, I think it's probably similar to what's happened with ourselves. I think the national breaks probably came at a great time for them as well, because obviously we were backs against the wall with the injury list, and that was getting higher and higher. Obviously mentioned suspension like that Gordon had on top of that as well. So I think it's probably came at a good time, and it's going to be a toss of a coin, isn't it? Where a lot of those players which were mentioned, if they're going to make it. I don't think they'll all be missing. I think there'll be 1 or 2 of them come back into the fold there. But same for us. We've got a couple of players coming back from injury too.
Yeah, it's nice if we turn our attention to our injuries. I looked at the list and I was like, oh, there's only 3 names on the list now. That's nice. You've got Willock, who, is almost back, I think, as the understanding, but I don't think he's going to be ready. Barnes, obviously, we all know about, and then I think the only other name really on there is Isak, who again was 50-50, and that was just because of, I think he picked up something against was it PSG? It wasn't PSG, was it? It was West Ham. He picked up a little knock when Wilson had to come on towards. Oh no, it wasn't Wilson who came on because he wasn't even on the bench.
No, Daryl, did come on at West Ham. Sorry,
did he come on at West Ham?
Yeah, he did there on.
Yeah. But we do have returning players, and we're expecting Botman, Joe Linton, and obviously Anthony Gordon, who's back from suspension, all to feature in the side. We don't know if they'll get starts, but they'll definitely be, in that, that list of, the squad basically who is going to be playing there. Welcome returns.
Oh, absolutely. I think, Anthony Gordon's pretty much been our player of the season so far, so it'll be really great to see him back. Sven Botman, we know what he brings to that defence. He brings a level of calmness and control. And I have to use this opportunity to pay credit to Jamal Lascelles, who's come in and been a great substitution and understudy while Botman's been out injured, and he's done a tremendous job. But I think once Botman is back fit again, then unfortunately for Lascelles, he's going to have to drop out and make way for Botman, who is literally the first, he's that first choice defensive partner for Fabian Schär. And again, it's going to be really good to see Joe Linton back on the pitch as well. If he is, of course, fully fit again. I think his return could time really well with the potential absence of a certain Italian midfielder for reasons still under investigation, we should add. But he could be missing on Saturday. And I think Isak probably just needed a fortnight's rest, to be honest, after the amount of games he played before the break. But again, it's one of these where it's going to be interesting to see how Eddie Howe plays this out, because it'll be, I know we're not coming to lineups just yet, but I think that decision on who he plays up front in the middle is going to be interesting given the games ahead.
I think, do you know what it is? I think we're going to have to address it straight away with the Tonali situation. I think, yes, it's still an investigation, but he was taken out of that Italian squad because he wasn't in the right frame of mind, and obviously the investigation, and he was being questioned by police. Is he going to get thrown in this one? I don't think he will. No matter what happens, so. I'll be very, very surprised to see Tonali anywhere in that squad.
Mm-hmm. I think given the list of players that are available,
Sorry.
You look at you've got Joe Linton, you've got Bruno, Longstaff, Anderson. They would all start above someone who hasn't trained all week. I know Eddie Howe's alluded to that Tonali maybe hasn't had that many training sessions anyway since he's arrived, but you'd think with the lack of training and also the mental strain of what's been going on, he's not going to be in any fit shape or form to.
But then again, we can look at Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney played every single game right up until
he did. Yeah.
Until the sentence came in that he's obviously going to be banned for. So we don't know. I think the decision's probably going to be a conversation between Eddie Howe and Tonali. And if Tonali feels like he's in the right frame of mind to play, then he's going to feature somewhere in the squad. But it all comes down to that mental ability and how well he feels in himself to put himself in that spotlight, because we can't hide from it. The spotlight's going to be shining on him.
Yeah, it absolutely will. I want to touch on something, Kris, that Daryl brought up when he was talking about returning players, and that's Jamal Lascelles. Is it harsh on Jamal Lascelles if he just gets dropped instantly just because Botman's back? Or do you think we're going to see a case of what we saw with Bruno last season, where he came back from his injury and he had to wait a couple of weeks before he got a start? Eddie Howe doesn't seem to be wanting to just drop a player for the sake of it. Or do you think Botman's just too good of a player?
It's harsh, but it's no more harsh than Callum Wilson losing his spot. When he's back and goes in, more harsh than the same with Isak when he's scoring and Callum Wilson comes in. We've seen it with the wingers as well. Miggy was being dropped for a few games as well. I think you pick your best players. If Botman's fit, he starts. I don't think we're in a position now where we can be all loving with this and think, oh well, Jamal Lascelles had a great couple of games and nothing taken away from him, because he's been great off the field. But if Botman's fit, he's a better player. He comes straight in. Got to be ruthless.
Yes, and especially with the amount of games we've got coming up as well. Obviously, we've got another game on the Wednesday, which we will be doing a preview for that game. I just want to touch on one last thing, and it comes to the strikers in Newcastle. I know, Daryl, you've mentioned this a little bit, but we've got Isak and Wilson. Is it just a flip of the coin for which one starts? Because it doesn't matter, and the other one will come on and score anyway. Is that kind of what we're on of a mindset now? Or do you think it's Wilson is very much the Premier League star, and then Isak is the Champions League striker for us at the moment, when there's a game midweek coming up in these kind of timetables?
Well, it is one of those, isn't it? I mean, we've seen it in the build-up to the last international break, where it was a case of Isak was the Champions League striker and Wilson was used more in the Premier League. But when Wilson's fitness started to struggle, we just saw lots of Isak and then just little bits of Wilson. And I think we're quite fortunate and we're quite blessed in the fact that they're both in excellent form. They're both coming on the pitch and scoring goals for us. And they both offer a different type of game as well. We know that Isak's much more better with his feet and he can dribble and run at players, whereas Wilson's the kind of player you want to put a ball in behind, or you can swing a ball into the box and he can bully a defender or two because he's got that upper body strength. So we are quite blessed in that. And I think we've said it countless times before, and I'll say it again just for added effect. I'm glad it's not my headache, and I'm glad it's Eddie Howe's headache to have.
Absolutely. We'll move on to our predictions. But before we give you our predictions, we are back with a member's prediction. And we have a returning member this week. We have Shane from all the way over in, I think he said Brisbane in Australia is where he's from. I know I kind of jested that he's from Australia last time, but he definitely is. Here's Shane with his prediction.
G'day guys, Shane here from Brisbane, Australia. With the Crystal Palace game, not really sure what the result's going to be, to be honest. I don't know too much about Palace, but I know that they're just below us. So yeah, in the last few results against them have been draws. So yeah, maybe being at home, maybe I think we'll snatch it 1-0 maybe. And maybe like an early second half goal, maybe to Gordon. I think Gordon might get on the score sheet, hopefully. And yeah, thanks guys.
There you have it, Chris.
Hang on a second.
That's all questions, was it?
He's put his name forward to do a preview for the game and went, I don't really know. That's absolutely outstanding.
Well, he did give us a prediction of 1-0, and thanks, Shane. I think because he's in Australia, he realised what time it was, and he's had to run out to his car and do it at like 3 a.m.
I'm sure I could hear an indicator. He's had an indicator going as well.
So, yeah.
Thanks, Shane.
Go back to bed, Shane, and we'll see you in the morning. Chris, do you agree with the 1-0, or do you think it might be a bit of a different scoreline?
Nah, I think we're going to get a couple, mate. I can't see us conceding. I really can't. We're being pretty solid. Obviously, Botman being back, that's going to help that situation if he does start. I think with Gordon starting again, you could see against West Ham that we didn't struggle without Gordon, but you could tell there was a massive void on that left hand side. There really was, because Gordon when Gordon's on the field, everybody else matches his work level to do, and he doesn't stop at all. So similar to Miggy on the other side, but Gordon's got something about him. I've said this loads of times, that he still looks like he's got a point to prove, and that's working in our favour, because he's enjoying his football at the minute, and it's honestly it's a joy to see that he's smiling playing football again, because he's loving every second and every blade of grass that he runs across. He's absolutely buzzing with it, and I think with him starting, that'll get us up the field a hell of a lot more times than what it would if he wasn't starting. So I think I'm going to go for another few, I think it'll be 3-0. And I think it'll be a dominant performance. I don't think we'll see much of Palace.
Well, here's hoping. I'll take that. Daryl, what's your predictions, mate?
Well, I'm almost very similar to Chris, actually. I think, we really should have too much for Palace, and we should be able to control that game and dominate it as well. We should be able to really impose ourselves on them. And I don't think I would even go as far as what happened to Sheffield United, because that was an exceptional set of circumstances. But I think we can get 2 or 3. Now, I'm going to go with Chris, and I'm going to go with the 3-0 as well. I think the back five is just solid at the minute, and they've all had apart from Kieran Trippier, but they've all had a fairly decent rest. And a lot of those lads will be fully refreshed coming into this game on Saturday. I think they'll be right up for it. And I also think they might want to avenge what happened the last time Crystal Palace came here, with that Joe Willock goal that was never given when it should have been, or it should have been at least a penalty to us, because he got a right shot in the back for it. But, I think there's a lot of work there, and I think we should be okay against Palace. Now I'm going to go with a 3-0.
Well, I suppose I'm not going to go 3-0, but I think we will keep a clean sheet. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. I think he's spot on with what you're saying about Gordon. I think he probably will end up getting his goal. That he's been trying to bang. He's been banging on the door for. I know he has scored this season, but he should be scoring more. Chris, he said he's got that point to prove. I think he'll have a bigger point to prove now. He's back from suspension. He'll be wanting to kind of prove that you do miss me when I'm not here. So yeah, I think 2-0. I think Gordon, and let's go Isak with a goal to make it 9 for the season. which is unreal at this point of the season to have a striker on 9 goals. What do you think the score is going to be? Let us know in the comments below. Boys, before we wrap this one up, does anybody have anything they want to add for this preview?
I think we might have to look at how close-knit these group of players are and what Eddie Howe's done to this football club. I think with the ongoing investigations with Tonali as well, obviously we'll be back in training this week around the lads as well. Maybe that might work in our favour as well, you know. I know obviously long term it's not going to, because I think we all know what may be happening to Sandro Tonali and obviously a suspension coming his way. But I think the lads might rally together and we'll get that extra amount of percent out of the performance as well, because of that reason as well. It might sound ridiculous I'm even suggesting that, but I think it's that siege mentality which we have now as a football club, and I think we'll have a point to prove as a team as well.
It's funny you mentioned that, Chris, because sorry, Scott. It's funny that you mentioned that, because we have to remember that Kieran Trippier was once charged with betting like offences while playing, and while it's probably not on the same sort of scale or level as what Tonali's gone through, we already saw when we saw on Tonali's welcome video, and Kieran went straight in there to have a word with him and welcome him to the club and all that. There's probably going to be a bit of a forged relationship developing there, where Trippier can give some advice to Tonali, whether or not it's on how to deal with it or how to conduct himself whilst things are going on. And Chris is absolutely right. There's going to be a togetherness within the squad, and they're really going to be. It is a band of brothers, isn't it? You know, it's a full-on band of brothers, and I think they'll be right behind each other, and that can only be good for us. It's a galvanization of the squad together. It's only good for us.
Do you know what it is though? Like, I know this is a whole different video in itself, but just a final point on the Tonali situation. It must be tough for him. It has to be. Obviously, he's moved to a new country. He doesn't speak the language. Obviously, adapting to the Premier League as well. Admitted that he's got a gambling addiction as well. And now, with a possible suspension coming his way, it's going to be difficult for him. It really is. There's nothing worse than the player being sidelined, whether that's through injury or whatever else it may be. But watching your teammates play football week in, week out, that's damaging for anybody's mental health. Of course it is. Not like that's without even looking at anything else which I've just mentioned. So it's going to be difficult, but he's in the right place with this football club. The way it's being run at the moment, he'll get all the help that he needs, and all the support that he needs as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing to remember is it's not just a ban of playing. He's not going to be able to do anything football related if he's banned anything like Ivan Toney's. So, you know, he'll be watching them play week in, week out, but he won't be able to kind of turn up at the training ground on that Monday morning and, help the lads, galvanize them and even further and support them. It's going to be from a distance. It's going to be, away from Newcastle United, where he's going to have to be. I'd imagine he'd probably go back to Italy and spend a lot of his time over there. I don't think he would, depends on what the club want him to do, but I would imagine he would stay here. Again, though, it's for another video for another time, I think, and then we could talk about that all night. We'll wrap this one up. Like I said before, let us know in the comments your predictions for this one. Do you think it'll be a 3-0? Do you think it'll be 2-0? Do you think it'll be 1-0? I'm just going through the predictions that we've given you today. Or do you think it'll be completely different? Like I said, let us know in the comments below. If you like this sort of stuff, please scroll down from this video and hit the little thumbs up button. It gets this video into the hands of other Newcastle and Crystal Palace fans. If you want to go one step further, you can hit the little subscribe button and the notification bell. Once you hit that, becomes available. Give that a press and you'll be notified when new videos go live on the channel. And if you want to go even further than that, you can become a member. It's $2.99 or $4.99 a month. You can pick what you want to pay, and that gets you early access to videos, exclusive access to videos as well. You also get access to the Telegram group and the Discord servers. We have a video that's just gone live this evening just for our members, where myself, Kris, Daryl, Ian, and Joe from Canny Chatter and other videos have jumped onto the new EAFC 24, and we've set up our own little GallowgateShots club. If Daryl could pick the right colour kits, it would have been a lovely video. No, joking. Give it a watch if you remember, because it is a good one. Also, obviously, coming up, we'll have a reaction to the Palace game. Always Smiling Faces podcast will be back on Monday. Canny Chatter was out on Friday gone, and there should be we're thinking of doing a special live episode next week. because I'm over in Newcastle for the Dortmund game. And then, there'll be a preview for said Dortmund game coming up as well for you. So plenty of content to keep you busy over these cold autumn days, because it's turned a bit cold outside. It seems to have just a switch has been flicked and it's went from okay to let's get the woolly coats out. Boys, I don't know. I've got a woolly coat. I don't know where that came from. Boys, it's been a pleasure. Thanks, lads, and thank you for
Cheers,
watching.
mate.
We'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.